Guys, Reaper here. Thanks for tuning in for another one of my videos. Today I'm going to give you a complete walkthrough guide on the Caldari State Storyline Mission for Patriotism. For Patriotism is a 15 million ISK reward mission which requires you to complete the news missions, severe punishment for patriotism and terrorist attack on School of Applied Knowledge. These three missions you'll find when you're refreshing your news missions at the top over here. When you see them pop up, if you complete them, you will ultimately unlock these three icons that you can see at the bottom, thus sending the book into your cargo hold of your ship in space or in station. Once you're docked up, you're able to click on the storyline book and accept the mission. When you accept the mission, you will find over here, it will appear in your journal. Now, this particular mission is 15 million ISK reward. There are multiple parts to it. You have the first part, which is the station I'm at right now, which is to communicate with an NPC here in station. And then we have to go 7 jumps and annihilate all of the enemies at the mission beacon. Once we've completed that, we have to communicate with Ofra Manius, and then we will dock at another station, which is where we are here at the moment, and then we'll talk to somebody and we will complete the mission. On completion of the mission, we will receive a Patriot supply chest. Now, this supply chest will appear at a random station somewhere out in the EVE universe. The best thing for you to do is, when you've completed the mission, click on your inventory and then click on your personal assets and search through your stations like so to try and find and locate that particular supply chest. Then you'll need to fly to or set your autopilot to go to the station, and you will be able to open it and retrieve some goodies from completing the mission. Storyline missions have a far greater difficulty compared to normal missions. Let's have a look at what we're going to encounter with all the different waves for this particular story mission. On wave 1 we'll have 13 ships, 4 frigates, 4 destroyers and 5 cruisers. Wave 2 we have 20 ships, 4 frigates, 6 destroyers, 7 cruisers, 1 elite frigate, 1 elite destroyer and 1 elite cruiser. The final wave, 30 ships, 6 frigates, 8 destroyers, 10 cruisers, 2 elite frigates, 2 elite destroyers and 2 elite cruisers. So as we can see there, guys, we have over 60 ships that we're going to be doing battle with. So for these missions you need to put a fair bit of time aside, and considering this is one of the easier missions, you will find that it becomes more and more difficult as the reward is to increase. A couple of other things to mention is on this particular mission in wave 2 and 3 you'll find ships have a warp disruptor, so they will prevent you from warping away. For that reason, you'll have to employ some tactics to avoid being overwhelmed. It doesn't matter what ship you're in, if you have 30 NPCs shooting you at the same time, it will be very difficult to tank. I've arrived in the system for the combat part. Now, unless you guys have a very good ship, which is more than competent, I'd recommend, instead of clicking on confirm to warp to the anomaly bookmark, I would cancel that order and open my overview, swap to anomalies, and then you can find for patriotism here, and you can warp in at your desired distance. Now, if you were in a, let's say, tier 5 cruiser, I'd perhaps suggest warping in at 50 kilometers for the first wave, and then try to draw some ships away. Again, your engagement distance is very much dependent upon your ship and your ship's capabilities. The main thing for these type of missions is to not underestimate the opponents, and you want to survive so that you can not lose your ship and continue to fight in some more battles. But my Cyclone is very, very competent, and I am going to as an example, set my destination here for a system nearby, so I have an autopilot for a quick escape should things go terribly wrong. I'm warping in on this particular ship at 0 because I know I can tank the first wave, and then I can start to dictate range for some of the harder second and third waves. I've set my overview to show a Stargate, again another point of exit should I need to, and I'm going to now activate my shield hardeners. I'm going to start to lock down some ships. I'm going to set my orbit, which I have set at the moment at 8 kilometers for my Nosferatus to be efficient. They've got me webbed now, so I'm going to start applying some damage and some DPS. I'm going to split my Nosferatus, so I have the maximum amount of cap recharge using those. I've put my shield booster on as I'm quite literally tanking the entire first wave all at the same time right now. I'm going to enable my damage control, better get my drone out and start applying some damage there as well. And with my damage control hot, you can see here my DPS has jumped up to 718. Cold, you're looking at 570. If you're interested in this fitting, have a look at one of my previous videos to do with the Cyclone fitting. So right now I'm in no problem. My capacitors maintaining at around 78%, and these guys are going down fairly quickly. Let's just lock up some more targets. Make sure you keep the targets locked, otherwise you're going to be waiting. And as a rule of thumb, it's always better to take out the webbed targets first, or the targets that are webbing first, if you want to find out who's doing what. If you put ships on your overview, then you can see here that the Manticore is the guy at the bottom there webbing me, and all the other guys are hitting me with some Nosferatus. However, not very powerful. So I'm going to find that Manticore now and lock him down, and I'm going to shoot him and take him out. So he shall be my next target, and I'll imagine he'd go down pretty quickly. Yep, single shot there. Should find now that I am no longer being webbed, I'm able to increase my speed. Speed's quite important here. If you're able to maintain a high speed, you're able to speed tank and therefore mitigate more damage. Now, I'm not locking this last mower because I want to be able to dictate my range before the next wave were to arrive. At the moment, if we zoom out, I am 19 kilometers from the beacon. So I want to be a bit further away from the beacon in this particular instance, as I do not want all of these ships to land on top of me. So if I travel in space in approximately this direction, try to get behind this guy, which will put me at a greater distance from the warp in, I should be pretty comfortable to take on wave number 2. I'm going to apply some damage now that I'm at a decent distance from the warp in, get my drones on this guy, and my ship, as you can see, has started to auto orbit. To correct this, I'm going to tap on space like so, and my ship is going to head in the right direction. So I'm now 21 kilometers from the warp in. As you can see, these guys aren't all directly on top of me, and I'm going to start locking them down and applying some damage. I do not need to be shield boosting that much. Completely wasn't paying attention there, but if you're struggling more with your capacitor, and if it's more important, I would highly recommend that you didn't shield boost consistently like I was just doing. So what I'm going to do now is go into my overview settings, as we've got quite a lot of guys here, turn off my auto orbit, and I'm going to align towards a celestial. This is very important because it keeps you at a greater distance from guys that are effectively trying to apply all of the damage. And in this wave, as we know, there are 20 ships all shooting at me at the same time. So even with my tank being quite ferocious, I'm still taking some fairly good damage. So what we're going to do here is, burn away, just like so, take out all these guys, start to shoot some of the, I'm going to go for this elite here, as He will be doing a fair amount more damage than the others. Let's get this guy down. My shield tank is holding pretty steady at around the 50% mark at the moment, and it will start to come back up as well as we take out more and more of these guys. So I'm going to go for some of the smaller ships now, frigates and such, which are likely to be doing or applying the webs. If we go back to the ship overview here, we can see the culprits. It's the Korak sniper, who I'm just going to cancel that attack. There's the Korak sniper, so let's put some damage on him. Again, this mission is very comfortable in the ship I'm flying at the moment due to its rather monstrous tank. If you're in a cruiser, whether it's a Tech 6 or 5 cruiser, or a Tier 5-6 cruiser, you're going to want to engage this in a very different way. You're going to want to warp in at a far greater distance, and if you're sitting 100 kilometers away from the mob, they will start to separate. The smaller ships travel faster, they'll reach you sooner than the cruisers, therefore you're able to split up the pack and separate out the damage. As we can see now, this is becoming very, very straightforward. So I'm going to go into my settings again, battle settings. I'll leave automatic lock back on off. I don't really like that particular one because I can't choose who I'm targeting. And I'm going to re-enable my auto orbit. So now we're just whittling down these ships one by one. I'm quite comfortable again setting my orbit at 8 kilometers. My capacitor went quite low there, but again I was shield boosting non-stop. When you're in a ship that's not as capable, you do very much need to keep an eye on everything, and the lure way of going about this at a distance is going to be a far safer method. So I'm going to get shield boosting again now, as I've got all of these ships back in range all of a sudden. As you can see from my particular ship here, taking out a destroyer is literally 2 shots. One of the earlier methods of me completing missions like this were to use medium missile launchers rather than the rapids, which gave me a good range of 50 or 60 kilometers. I would use propulsion mods like a micro warp drive to maintain my distance, and I would engage at range. As soon as something got too close, I'd be aligned ready to warp out, and yes, I would warp out and then relocate by moving to another celestial and warping back in at a suitable distance and applying more damage. It's a far longer way for you to complete a storyline mission, but again, it's also much safer. So we're down to the last 3 ships here, who are going down pretty quick. I'm going to get my damage control on here to take these guys out a bit faster. When I say damage control, my ballistic control system, should I say. Okay, we're on to the last ship here, guys. So again, you need to check where you are in relation to that beacon, how far away the beacon is. As you can see, we've got a much better range now from the beacon. We're 52 kilometers out, so we're not going to have the final wave with all those 30 ships landing on top of us and applying damage. What I'm going to do now is start heading away from these guys towards a random celestial, just like so. Switch off my shield booster, as we do not need to be shield boosting at the moment. Start to lock some ships down. Quickly go into our battle settings, turn off our auto orbit target. So we're now heading away quite nicely and comfortably, and we can start to apply some damage to the ships that are in pursuit. this is the smarter way to do this. As you can see, my speed with the afterburner running is 700 meters a second. Now, as you can see as well, I was being warp disrupted there. That will be the Elite Pithy Cormorant Interdictor. So he is going to go down now, and that will avoid me being locked down and prevent my escape should things go wrong here. Although this is an easy mission, it's very easy to be overwhelmed because there's just a sheer volume of ships here. So doing it this way, keeping a distance, is certainly the smarter way to go about it. So I'm going to unlock these guys as they are at a good distance, and we're going to focus on the targets that are within a close enough distance. So I'm going to approach this elite mower, 25 kilometers, stay within my missile range. I'm going to apply my ballistic control system, get some more damage on this guy, and try and take him out. Now, the elite ships have a far greater tank, and for a number of minutes whilst they've acted their shield booster, they almost appear immune. See, I've done 2 volleys now, taking his shield down past that boost, and he should now go down quite straightforward. I've almost capped myself out, so I'm going to stop shield boosting. I'm going to, for a moment, switch off my afterburner, and I'm going to keep attacking these guys here. Should be pretty comfortable with the amount of shield buffer I have and the fact that the ships are all, as you can see, fairly spread out. The closest ships are only frigs, so I'm going to go in now and set my orbit again. As the ships are at a great enough distance, I do not need to worry about the damage, and I'm going to start taking some of these guys out. So my optimal range is 12 for the Nosferatus to get my cap back up. Start locking down this little ship here, as it will take me a while to lock on with this sig radius. I'm going to set to orbit this guy. Get my Nos on him and start to take him out. And as you can see, quite quickly my capacitors back up to a safe 43%. The Nosferatus make a huge difference for being able to sustain and continue to fight in storyline missions. So as you can see, the ships are now starting to melt away, getting the numbers down to a more safe level. If you're approaching the pack of ships like this and you can see there's loads of guys, you might want to just again manually navigate space so that you're not getting too close to so many at once. I'm going to start to head away now, like so. Going to disable my shield booster. Need to start managing my capacitor if I'm going to do this at range. I'm going to set my orbit on this guy as he's quite far just outside of my missile range. In fact, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to unlock this guy. As you can see, we have other guys within our range. Let's be safe and attack those first. Let's get the numbers down before we go in and start brawling. Always better to be safe. People may say, oh, you know, your ship's awesome, you should be able to, you know, if you're flying a particularly good ship, just don't become overconfident and fly in thinking you can take everything on, because it's usually not the case. As you can see in this list, we have a lot of ships here which do combined a significant amount of DPS. Head upwards here a bit. drone working. So something's got me warp disrupted again. So there's 2 warp disruptors here. So there he is, the Korak sniper. So I'm going to start headed over here into space. Let's get this guy down, as he may pose more of a threat. So if I take him out, I know I'm able to escape again, as I'm not being warp disrupted. I'm going to start boosting, get this damage on this guy here. A lot of people in, a lot of ships within range now, so I'm going to start taking more damage. And now that that guy's down, I'm going to see if I can brawl the ships, as I have no risk anymore of being warp disrupted. If I can't brawl, if the damage is too much, I can always have a quick warp out and warp back in. But as it seems right now, I'm able to tank this quite comfortably, even with the sheer numbers of ships you can see. Being webbed here, so better look at the list for the ships. This sniper is the next target. He is webbing me down, reducing my speed by half. Take him out and I'll be able to cruise again at my maximum velocity. Go back into my settings and enable automatic orbit. Turn off my shield booster at this stage. I no longer need to be boosting shield. As you can see, I've got a full buffer, and my effective defense on this ship is almost 40,000 with 10,000 shield hit points. Start to lock down some more ships. Make sure you've always got a next target available. Increase my damage here. I'm going to go for this Cormorant next. And I'm taking some damage, but I have full cap. I'm going to get my shield booster going again. So at this stage now, it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. I've only got 5 ships left on the field, which should go down pretty quick with my damage here. If we look on the overview, you might want to change that over at this point to loot. I don't believe we're going to have a problem whereby we need to warp out. And we can see here we have a hell of a lot of wrecks to loot. In here you'll have a lot of salvage, a lot of modules. In particular, the elite wrecks may have things like Challenger launchers and some Aura warp core stabilizers. I think the most I've made in ship loot on this particular mission for Patriotism is somewhere around 25 to 30 million ISK. So the 15 million ISK reward for completing the mission isn't your total possible earnings. So therefore running story missions can be a very good way to make some ISK. Let's get some damage going again. Get these last 2 guys down. If we have a look in this elite cruiser wreck, we've got some medium named railguns, which are not very, not worth a great deal at the moment. They're very, very cheap items. Getting this last guy down. Okay, and there we have it. So we've got the update for the mission. We can talk to the NPC here in space. A bit of to and fro. I'm not going to read out all this text to you guys. I'll let you enjoy that for yourself. And then I've had a notification asking me to jump 7 jumps to complete the mission or to move on to the next stage. Of course, I'm going to press cancel because we have all of this loot that we want to collect. If I click on the mission, we are now at stage 5 of 7. All we have to do now is dock 7 jumps away, speak to an NPC, report the mission. I will then receive 15 million ISK, and somewhere in space, as I mentioned earlier, this Patriot chest will appear, and you will be able to fly to that destination by finding it in your inventory and looting the can to see what you can find. Well, I hope this guide has helped, and if you appreciate my content, I'm going to be releasing a storyline mission guide for as many as possible in the coming days and weeks. Yeah, if you could subscribe, I would be very, very appreciative, and thanks for watching.